Right, here we are. Rebecca, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad to be here and catch up.
Absolutely. We are live with Rebecca Teaff of Redstart Creative. She joined us on the podcast back in November of 2020. My, how times have changed.
Yes.
And she is coming back today to give us some updates in her business and in her industry to help all of the entrepreneurs out there, the business owners out there, with a pulse check on marketing and help you in your businesses as you all are evolving. So thanks for being here, Rebecca. How are you? How are things? How's life?
Things are good. I mean, when I think about the difference between now and November of 2020, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I think we all talked about it, right? In my business circles, I felt like we were like, all right, next year, late spring, early summer stuff is going to start to pick up. But now I'm talking that it went from like 0 to 60, like you wouldn't believe. So that's kind of where we are right now, feeling it, and so much has happened over that time.
Well, tell us some big wins. Celebrate with us some big wins, and let's just talk about some updates in your business.
Okay. So I think it's very hard, I think, to think about what like last year and the challenges and the struggles and wins, but I'm always a person that I love to reflect, right? And I think now, reflecting on 2020, I look at how much closer our team got, how much more aligned we got with each other. And one of the things I realized, we were working with like a DEI and culture coach before the pandemic started. And we wanted to figure out, we were like, well, we all have these like this commonality and this understanding of how we want to do our work and how we want to show up in the world. But we don't think other people know that as Redstart Creative. And so by working with a consultant, we realized a lot of different things, like we were able to articulate them. So we realized collaboration is a really core value on our end. And that's key, not just for clients, but internal work, right? So when we're talking about hiring somebody, let's make sure the collaboration is key for them. That came out of it. We were really able to say, why we work in the space of organizations working for social impact and equity. So we were able to put words to a lot and really feel who we are as a team. And what that actually led to is we've been doing some hiring this year, and we actually now do culture fit interviews first. Very short 20-minute chats. We bring in 6 or 7 people.
Good.
And we ask a couple questions about their work style. How do they like to work? And oh my goodness, the people that have come into our organization going through this process feel like they've been with us forever.
Oh, that's so good. That's great.
It's like, I cannot even like emphasize how key it has been, because when you have a team that goes through a year like 2020 together, right? And everybody's supporting each other and everybody's stepping up and just collaborating in all the best ways,
right?
You risk changing that balance when you bring in new people. And so the culture fit interviews have been really great for that, and have kind of led us to getting the right people on our team as we're getting ready to grow. I was looking today, we're on track to do what the amount of business we did in 2019 or exceed that. And that's huge. That's really
huge. In fact, on one of my coaching calls earlier, we were looking at that. We were looking at not month over month, year over year from 2020 to 2021, but we were looking at it comparatively to 2019. We had up all of those numbers. And I think that's what people need to be looking at, where is the pace? Are we exceeding that? And I love that you really are focusing on your hiring process. A lot of companies and entrepreneurs out there don't have an official hiring process, but what you're doing is you're enhancing it, right? You're making sure that chemistry with the team is really staying on point, and you're protecting your huddle and just really, being so selective of who you're bringing in. So I love it. You're calling it a culture
fit interview.
A culture fit interview. I like
Because
that.
some people prefer to work like on their own, right? They do really well. They don't want to collaborate. They just want to meet with the client and do the work. For us, we've got so many different disciplines that overlap. We really need people that are like, I'm going to do my part, but I'd like feedback here. Here's where I can give you feedback. And kind of the whole looking at all the individual strengths, and like the sum of it is bigger than if you added it up one by one. And so it's funny how that came out, through this process. And then once we started to verbalize it more, I sincerely believe we've actually won 2 projects because we have talked about our culture and our values. And for anybody who's worked in the RFP space, we won 2 RFPs where they did not know us ahead of time. And one we won out of 18 people, 18 organizations that submitted. And I really think it was because we have gotten better at saying, this is why we do what we do. This is what we're about. And people are like, oh, I understand that. That makes sense. And then when we get on the call with them, they see the team interact and they're like, oh, that's legit.
Right. Exactly.
So it's even though it wasn't like a sales focus to do it, it's made an impact in getting to know potential clients. And it's been huge.
That's great. Telling your story and telling it well and not being afraid to tell it, and not only tell it, but putting it on paper so it presents well and reads well. Any other big wins? Those are 2 huge wins: the storytelling and the verbalizing and the culture interviews.
Yeah,
it feels wins, of course.
It feels good. And like, we're gonna move into a new space in September. I signed the lease yesterday, so I feel like I can say it out loud.
That's great.
I signed the lease yesterday. Yeah.
Great. Congratulations. Where are you gonna be?
Thank you. We're gonna be in Towson, and we're gonna use collaborative space again. But we're excited. So we'll have a little more space than before. But we really like to have a place. We'll remain hybrid, right? We were hybrid before the pandemic. We're all virtual now, but there's something to be said for that interaction that happens in between stuff, in between meetings. And so we want to recognize that. We want to recognize that and let that great team environment happen. But we also want to recognize and give people autonomy. If there's a way that they work better or a time they work better when they're heads down doing the work, we want to make sure they have that too. So I actually feel a little bit ahead of the 8 ball, or whatever the word is, with everybody talking about returning to work. And I'm like, we had flexible work arrangements before this even happened. So we're just going to go back to it because it was working.
Was it hard to find space or hybrid space? Like, what was that like, that process? Did it feel like there was a lot out there, not a lot out there? Like, what were you seeing, just to give everybody kind of a pulse check on that?
Sure, on what that is. So it's very interesting. So I was going to wait. I was going to like go check stuff out in September, and, timing and things happen for a reason. I saw a different building that I was like, oh, what a cute building. What a great location. And the space didn't work for a few reasons. But I had been in touch with this landlord. I know some other tenants in the building, and I was like, I'll just throw a feeler out. And then it happened to be that all this stuff just came together at once.
Good.
Which is really exciting. And again, I just feel like we'll never be the company with a culture that's 9 to 5 and everybody closing their doors, right? Like, we're not going to be a place where everybody has their own office. We're going to have a lot of collaborative space that we can work with each other. We can meet with clients, but we're also going to have what I'm calling quiet rooms, with workstations, because we can be loud. So we're going to make sure that there's also quiet space for people to work when they're in the office too.
Oh, that's so good. Congratulations. Yeah. That's huge.
Thank you. Yes, it's very exciting. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with this space. But I think overall, what everybody's been saying is, people will have smaller footprints. They'll have more collaborative spaces. And again, being in this space of hybrid and flexible work arrangements, I cannot say enough, when you have the right people on your team, how much people appreciate being able to make those decisions, right? Like, when they're going to go in, when they're going to come out. I think that has really been part of our team and part of our culture. And also just last year reflecting on just as being a business owner and a leader, kind of reflecting on not only like how am I supporting my team and what they're going through, because we've got team members, all over the map, right? We've got team members who are taking care of relatives. We've got team members who are taking care of young kids. We've got team members who are taking care of, school age kids. And so, making sure people feel seen and heard and met where they are in such a crazy time, has been great. And I think we want to keep showing up in that space and keep showing up in that culture. And one of the things we've started to put in our job descriptions, because if we reflect on last year, the disastrous effects of women in the workforce, is crazy how many women have left the workforce. So we are actually putting in our job descriptions, we would like to hire, we are a flexible family first place to work. We would like to hire people that had to leave the workforce due to the pandemic. So, and we even are going to be hiring for a business development sales role. And we have some flex in that. And so we just want to meet people that could be good fits, and then we'll build the position around them, because I just think that's key as business owners and leaders right now, especially as women-owned businesses. If we can help, and if we can, not only will that be great for our business, but if we can show other businesses, we're a successful business. This is how we run things. There are routinely babies in our Zoom meetings, right? Yep. And we're doing great work. The team is happy and our clients are happy. So I feel like not just taking care of my team, but where can I be a leader in this environment where we are right now that has really been devastating to women in the workplace.
That's fantastic. That's really great. And, it's interesting to see the conversations unfold post-pandemic, post-COVID. But, I was a lot like you in my leadership. I've always said to my team, like, we all do life. You don't want life to not happen just because you're at work. It's not, you and I both grew up in corporate, how we were groomed, right? That you had to be one person here and one personality there.
Yes.
We all do corporate. We all do life. And that's what the most important thing is. And when I acquired Timber, it was one of the first things that we did was like Netflix, you're a big girl, you're a big boy, you get your work done as you need to, wherever you need to, however you need to. And that, that's up to you. It's not a 9 to 5. It's just, get the job done and you're responsible. But if you need to be on the soccer line doing it, you're where you should be with your family, because that's what we're all doing here, right? So that's great. So let's talk about the industry. Okay. What advice can you give right now to different business owners out there as it relates to your space, to marketing, to whatever you want to speak about? What trends are you seeing in your industry?
Sure. What I'm seeing right now, very similar between nonprofits and small businesses, is there was a lot of funding last year, right? There was grant funding for nonprofits. There was grant funding for small businesses. Right. And I think what we're seeing right now is the organizations are taking a look at that and going, I want to get back to growing. What do I need? Right. So they're again, last year and even early this year, there's been some great funding opportunities. I think there's even still some grants out there. Right. So the organizations that are looking at those grants and saying, how am I going to shore up my team? How am I going to shore up my process? How am I going to shore up my foundation so I'm ready to grow when that grant and that funding is not there? Right. That's what I'm seeing. And I'm having that in conversations with, within the nonprofit space. And also, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I had a bunch of conversations with women business owners all in one day. And we were all doing the same thing, right? We were saying, do we have the team as we gear up for growth? Right. How are our processes working? Are our systems working? So as work ramps up again, we're not bottlenecking, we're not having issues. And I really think that organizations that are doing that are going to emerge really strong. And let's be honest, the goal of the funding was to keep people employed. The goal of the funding was to keep businesses open. And so the businesses that are doing that are growing, they're hiring, and they're looking ahead. And so that's really what I'm seeing in a lot of conversations. People took the time, not that it was an easy year, but they took the time to kind of go, how are we doing things? Does it make sense?
Right.
That's really a lot of what I'm seeing. Are you seeing that in your conversations with people?
Yes. So a lot of work on the foundation, as you're saying, making sure that the foundation is as strong as possible for growth. But really big numbers, huge numbers. Again, over the 2019 numbers, a lot of leadership transition, generational transition, generational shifting. A lot of people still really trying to figure out where they really want the business to go because they're tired. So
yes.
A lot of that too. So we've been, kind of shifting, a lot of foundational repair and then shifting and then transitioning of the business has been the theme. And looking at the numbers and making sure that they're really on pace past 2019. So,
and have you seen, I feel like there have been so many memes out there that are like, it's okay to rest, right? Like I posted one the other day and it was something like, I don't know, like a lot of conversations about energy and rest, right? I think we learned a lot of lessons last year about where your energy needed to go at the moment, but also the need to rest. I am seeing, which I'm really happy about. Last summer, we did not do a lot of scheduling projects around vacations, and I'm seeing that this summer. So I'm really glad people are able to take a break, take a rest. Hopefully people will take off the grid conversations, because with a lot of people working from home, people just didn't step away.
Right.
And so I'm really hopeful that people go, it's okay. It's okay to take a day off.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's people are cranking though. I mean, it's busy.
It is. Well, and that's what the one thing you had asked ahead of time, like challenges and growth and different things.
Yes.
And
tell us about some growth opportunities.
Yes. So like, as we're looking at foundations and procedures and getting busy, right, it becomes a juggle to prioritize as a business owner. And so one of the things that I found that works really well is working with my team on feedback there, right? And so we talk a lot about different things, and we were talking yesterday about, a question that came up on a project and some different things. And we're like, wouldn't it make sense if we did XYZ at the beginning of every project, right? And so getting a lot of feedback from my team in this process while we're changing and while we're doing things, and as far as what's growing, I mean, digital's what's growing, we're really seeing, we've done more websites this year than we ever have, year to date at this point. We've got a bunch more coming up in the pipeline. We've been doing a lot of targeted digital advertising for specific endeavors. We're doing it for at least 2 nonprofits right now. I feel like there's another one, but I can't remember. But so we're doing a lot of digital outreach, and then thinking about, okay, this is another trend I think I'm seeing in the nonprofit world, right? You had who you were pre-2020, you had the history, you had your programs and your services. A lot of organizations pivoted and did amazing stuff last year. How do you put the two together, right? Do you totally drop it? Do you hybrid it? What is it that you do? And we're hearing some organizations going, oh, all these actually services we added enhance what we do, so we're keeping them. We've had other people go, yeah, we're actually going to have to offer in-person and online programs now. So it's really interesting. And I love the thought process around those, right? Like one of my favorite things about running a business is the visioning part of it, right? And going, okay, how do these things align? How do we put it together? And then how do we talk to people about it? And so, I think it's actually it's pushing nonprofits that have made these changes. It's pushing their growth ahead by years, because these are things they probably would have gotten to, but they had to do it so fast and so quickly. So yeah, so that's a definite thing that I am seeing.
We have a lot of great comments coming in. Colleen McKenna, thanks for being in here. And then another, I can't identify who the LinkedIn user through StreamYard. It's a little quirky, but they're saying that they're listening. So welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here. We're actually live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and in our Facebook Entrepreneur Evolution group with Rebecca Teaff of Redstart. She's awesome. Oh, it's Lauren Escuri. Awesome. So, okay, so let me ask you this. And I think the point that you just made about the different, you identify, or companies identified, nonprofits identified this new service and they're keeping it, are you still seeing a lot of traditional thinking out there or more innovative thinking?
I mean, I think anybody who was stuck in traditional thinking got pushed way out of their comfort zone last year. And I think as the months wore on, if by the end of last year you were not pushed towards innovative thinking, it probably felt pretty bad, right? And to be stuck. And so I really have seen a lot of innovative thinking. And again, I'm a problem solver. So I love any type of organization, business, nonprofit, school that's thinking differently and thinking outside of the box, right? Because problems are what lead us to different and new solutions and push us forward. And so just seeing really interesting things. And so my son is actually going to go to a different school next year. And when we toured it, we were looking, and because of spacing and wanting to have kids distance and knowing they weren't going to have events, the school took their parish hall where they usually did gatherings, knowing they wouldn't have them, and they put the kindergarten in there so they could have enough space, right? Or they moved the computer room somewhere else and they did this, right? They didn't say, oh, well, we just can't do it. I love seeing that in a lot of different ways. For us, the one thing we did last year was we helped people with kind of pivot messaging. Because last year nobody was like, we really don't care about your 30-year history. Why are you relevant right now? And so we really helped people articulate it. And now it's coming back around again to how do we help people merge their pivot /2020 services with what they've always done, and how do they communicate that? And I think that is going to be a powerful communication tool for people in businesses and nonprofits and all organizations to say, because people are going to ask you, what did you do in the pandemic? Did you sit and did you wait it out and hope for the best? Right. Or did you continually try to innovate and change things? Because I think that shows a lot about the strength and the innovation within an organization.
Absolutely. So good. So good. I know. I feel like we haven't stopped. Woo.
I know.
It's like, when do we get a breather here?
I think you got to make it. And I was just, the end of last week, I was like super tapped out. So I took a day off.
Good.
I took a day off. I was tired. I had a headache.
Yeah. Done.
I took two naps.
Good.
And I don't feel guilty about it.
That's good. That's good. You need to know when you feel like that and just say, all right, that's it. That's it.
Well, and it's finding the balance too, right? Because you went through all this work. And then I had like a couple of 3-day weekends recently. And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? It doesn't have to be work through the weekend or have a 3-day weekend. So what I'm really trying to do now is have Sundays be my unstructured day. I'm going to have to pop in to check on some work things on a Saturday just because I just didn't get it done during the week, right? Or I'm going to have to do some home stuff around the house or those kinds of tasks. But I think it was 2 weekends ago, I woke up and I went to Target at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning to go look for outdoor pillows. I was like, when's the last time I was like, oh, let me just go run to Target? Usually it's like, I have 5 minutes. Let me find this online and get it delivered to my house. Right. So it's like, all right, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, but maybe let's have Sunday be a day for relaxing, impromptu kind of stuff. Yeah. So I'm thinking of that. And also, this is what I call the transitional phase of year. If you have children in school, this end of school, end of spring sports, into summer stuff, it's very busy and very chaotic. So I'm trying to remember that and look at and not overdo it on weeks like that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, I love everything you're sharing. Okay. So now you get to turn the tables and you get to ask me a question. I have no idea what you're going to ask me, but go ahead.
I'm ready.
Whatever you
I'm
got.
ready.
I'm ready.
It took me a while to think of this, but I think it's a great one. It actually flows really well with our conversation, talking about how all of a sudden everybody's busy with really great things, right? We went from 0 to 60, right? There weren't a lot of like meeting things, there weren't things, and all of a sudden there's things 5 nights a week. There's all these. So my question to you is, what is your advice to prioritize the things when they're all great things, right? Not one is bad. How do you prioritize when it's a lot of good stuff happening at once, but it's still too much?
That's a good one. Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. And, I actually felt this way this week. I looked at my calendar and all of a sudden I had events on my calendar in the evening and the boys are off school for summer. And I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, like I have to kind of say no here. And I haven't had to say no to like all of those fun things at once in a while, because we've all been in a different mode for sure. So I actually said to myself, and this is what I say to myself, and I learned it from actually a woman that was on the podcast, Emily. She's the one of the only female general managers for the Aces, for the Nevada Aces baseball team, minor baseball team. And she's like, if it's not a hell yes, it's not a yes. And it was really good advice that I carried with me. And, tonight I'm going to be at a crew event. It's a golf event and it's a golf clinic, and golf is a big thing on my list right now. And networking with women is a big thing on my list. And so that was the one thing I picked this week. And that was a hell yes, because I want to get to know the other women in that space. And I'm really trying to get my golf game better. So it was a good blend of 2 yeses for me. So to answer your question, I think, make sure it's a hell yes that you're saying, like that it's a true yes. And wherever you can blend your things. I've been doing a lot on the tennis courts and on the golf course and in the office or with the boys, and the boys are in the office now. Like our worlds are blended because we are in that transition mode. And just giving them different things to do around here. My shredder, they've got the shredder and they come in and they just shred things, it's like,
oh my gosh, I love it.
Fun for them. Right.
I love the word blend too. One of my friends, Meg posted this the other day, like the conversation of not a work-life balance, but a work-life blend. And I love that.
Yes, you have to have an integrated life. And like going back to what I said earlier, my theory's always been like, we all do life. Like, one of the main reasons why business owners start businesses is that so that they can have that freedom, right? And so that they can, continue to be a curious learner, continue to grow and problem solve, like you're saying. And when we get away from that is when we feel like we're plateaued and we're not growing. And when you allow yourself to do the different blended things out there that really stimulate you, that really like make you active and give you a fresh outlet for your brain, that's when you really grow and continue to grow and you have fun, right? Because
absolutely.
Nobody wants to do this and not have fun.
Right. Well, and that's one of the other things we added this year through all of our work, our work and our culture fit work is we have in our job description, we want you to show up fully yourself as much as you're comfortable, right? So that means dogs, babies, hobbies, whatever it is, we really want you to feel like you can truly be yourself and not have to have a work self and a home self. And we do that with the caveat as people feel comfortable, right? Like you don't have to tell us that all the things that you do, but like we've got one person on our team who loves to collect stamps. We have somebody else on our team that has done parkour before, just different things like that. That make that people are interesting and you learn more about them, and that they don't feel like they have to come in and be so buttoned up and be this one thing, and really, and that's an active practice, right? It's an active practice to make sure people feel comfortable make sure people feel welcomed, make sure people feel included. But I think that's been something that we've really, really tried to encourage. I had somebody their first weekend, back when we were in the office,
Right.
they were like, there was a baby in that meeting, and there was a baby sleeping in that room. And I was like, yeah, yeah. Or one time somebody on my team, the baby was supposed to be sleeping and it wasn't. So I just grabbed the baby and I watched the baby and I put the baby in the other room and I put the baby to sleep. Right. Like that's just, and again, if people feel like, they don't have to hide their kids on the Zoom screen or what. And I think, again, looking at recognizing how challenging and how hard last year was, I can't wait to read the analysis of things in 5 or 10 years when we look at all of a sudden, you don't have to like shoo your kids away, right? Because it was different, right? Remember like March, April, you're like, get out, get out, get out. Now I'm like, my son is going to come and say hello to everybody because he likes to do that, right? So I think that's been something that's been really nice. That's normalized that people have lives. That is not just their work.
That's right. Absolutely. It's all of us. Oh, I'm so glad you were here today. Thank you. Thank you. I'll drop the podcast in the link in the comments. So if anybody wants to hear like your total picture, your total story, it was episode 32 back in November. We are just about to cross the finish line on our 100th episode.
Congratulations.
And yes, I started it back in July. So it's like almost here we are. So really great things. Lots of great, amazing people. Thank you for everyone that was here. I love seeing Colleen and Lauren and everybody in the audience. And Rebecca, you are amazing. And I love to always have our conversations together. And I love seeing your growth. And congratulations on all the team additions and how well you are doing. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this was great. This was super fun to catch up.
Awesome.
And share all the little nuggets with everybody.
I will. There's so many good nuggets. Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
bye, everybody.